thank you for joining us on Inside the Nest. I'm Jack Barteck. 50 years ago, our Montclair State Redhawks football team capped off one of the greatest seasons in school history with a win in the Knute Rockne Bowl. Now, 50 years later, leading up to homecoming, we will be showcasing some of the players and coaches from that historic season. First question, it's been 50 years since that historic win in the Knute Rockne Bowl. How crazy?
It does, well, the fact that I'm going to be 80 this year makes it even crazier, but it seems more like 20 years. I've been able to stay in contact with quite a few of the guys from the team via Facebook, and then every year quite a few of us go to the Red Hawk fundraiser that the coach runs, and the beefsteak dinner in Wayne, and that's been a good way to keep personally in touch.
I think that's part of being a team, you know. And he said he was 80. I went to his 75th birthday party, and I'm 72, so I still can't believe it's been 50 years since we played in that game. And you know, you talk to guys that were on that team, and it was truly a unique experience.
It's been a rewarding 50-year career for me as a Montclair graduate, teacher, administrator, coach. But yes, it's shocked it's 50 years.
If it's been that long, no, it went way too fast. We're getting old quick, but it's still a memory. It's still there. It was an amazing thing, not so much for that particular deal, just the team, the time of mankind, the team that we had black, white, old, Vietnam veterans. We all mixed together. And I think, like John was saying a few minutes ago, it had a lot to do with the coaches. I mean, we had Clary Anderson, man. He was an icon. He felt like Spencer Tracy running around, grabbing your shoes, crawling on the ground, saying, "Ooh, I like that fit," and then crawl away. And this is the guy's got the most victories in you know, high school victories. But everybody got along. To this day, it's like a band of brothers. We love each other. We see each other every once in a while, and it just picks up. So the game, yeah, the game was great. The final, you know, cherry on that cake was tremendous. But the best part about that years, you know, 68 to 72, was we had a great team and a lot of fun.
Awesome. So I'm going to take you through a couple of plays from that game, and I want you to just run through your mindset and what you were thinking. So the first play, Hampden Sydney scores. They're going for two, a chance to win it, and you guys get the stop. What was going on, you know, with that play?
We were ahead at the point 7-0, and we had missed a field goal attempt earlier. And of course, I give Stokely Van Camp was the coach for Hampden Sydney, and I give him credit for wanting to go for the win. But Mike Van Zyl, who was our left defensive end, got a good rush on the ball and tipped the pass. And Alex Kaplanovich, who was our safety, was in the end zone with about 75 other ball players around him. And he went up, it was like a basketball rebound. He went up for it, got a hold of the ball, and came down in this pile. And afterward he said, "Coach, I didn't spend all summer lifting them weights to have somebody take that football away from me at that point." And that was the end of their two-point conversion.
We were thinking that we were going to win the game if we stopped the two-point conversion. And that was definitely a team effort. You know, I was fortunate enough to, when the ball was tipped up in the air at the line of scrimmage, you know, I was fortunate enough to be in the right place at the right time, went up and intercepted it. But it was, let me tell you, the guys I played with and anybody you talk to that was on that team, they'll tell you we went out on that field and we never expected to lose. We were going to win, regardless of who we played.
Stop them. I mean, I give them credit. You know, you come that far. We each played 10 football games. We were both very strong defensively, and you know, they went to win the game. We're not even sure at that point, Jack, if there was any tiebreaker, if there was overtime. Nothing was explained. So I guess they went for the win. No one wanted to walk out of there with a tie. And yeah, it's nerve-wracking. But when you're on the field, all you're thinking of stopping the opponent. You're not worried, oh my God, we're going to lose. No, just stop them. And fortunately, we had a tip ball, and Alex Kaplanovich went up high, pulled it down. They had another possession later in the game, which we were able to stop.
Was going through my mind a lot of stuff. I mean, we had a great defense. I mean, we had like 5 shutouts, we averaged, I don't know, somewhere like around 5 points a game. I mean, we had a heck of a defense. So we were pretty confident in what we could do, you know, and between Cataldi, me, and Brunelli and Kaplanovich, it just worked. I mean, we pressured. Cappy tipped the ball, I think, and Johnny intercepted it again for the third time in that game. I don't think we were ever doubtful that we would not stop them. I mean, we stopped them pretty much all game. If they hadn't got a fumble and got close, I don't think they ever would have scored. We were winning 7-6, so we just ran the ball out. I think we got a first down, or if not, they were deep enough in their territory that he left it in our hands. So, you know, there was that little deal too that everybody seems to forget. It wasn't just that play. It was the fact that we, even if they would have did that, we went down and we could have kicked the field goal. But heck of a play, heck of a game.
Theme in that game, you guys get on the board early with the handoff touchdown to take the early lead. So what's, as a member of that defensive unit, what's going through your mind there? And, you know, what are you guys talking about to hold that lead?
It was a team effort. We had a great defensive unit. Cataldi, Jensen, and we had John Brunelli, who I think Hampden Sydney thought was on their team, because every time they threw a pass into the flat, he picked it off. So it was John had a great game, and so it was, and Valpone, and it, you know, all those guys. And it was just a very, you know, team-oriented win.
Yeah, and you ended up holding them to 45 yards of offense in the game. They came into the game as one of the most prolific offenses in the country. So how great did it feel not only to get the win, but knowing that you guys held them to 6 points, all it took was a touchdown from your offense to win the game? How great was that feeling?
Well, I think that was a challenge to us, because whenever we would read the paper or somebody would put something up on the board that this team could score that amount of points, it was a challenge that you know, we played good defense and shut them out, you know, or try to shut them out. And it was, like I said, it was a complete defensive team effort against them, because they were pretty good. You know, they scored a ton of points, and they didn't give up too many, and we scored a lot of points, and we didn't give up too many. So it was two evenly matched teams back then. And plus, we were playing inside. It was funny, you know, being in the Atlantic City Convention Center.
But if we got one score, we could win this football game. Our defense had only let up 52 points all season. And remember, it's an era where teams ran the ball predominantly. If you look at our defense, we ran a straight 5-2, didn't blitz, didn't stunt, just had 5 tough guys up front, 2 outstanding linebackers. And those 4 guys were in the secondary. And we made our share of tackles because teams didn't throw a whole lot. But in that game, they were forced to.
Yeah, and we just spoke to Alex Kaplanovich, and he told me that you must have been wearing the wrong jersey, because every time they put the ball in the air, it seemed like you came down with it. You had 3 interceptions in that game. So how did that feel, being such an instrumental part of the victory?
Look, anytime you can be a part of a victory, it's outstanding. Yes, the ball came my way, and I was fortunate to get 3 picks in the game. I guess the most critical pick was probably in the first half, when they were on about our 15-yard line. It was a crazy pick because I was defending the running back or the slot back coming out, and Alex Kaplanovich hit both of us, kind of. So when he hit us, the ball went up, and I was fortunate to get one hand on it. That was probably their most extensive drive early in the game, except for the drive later in the fourth quarter where we had to stop the 2-point conversion. Look, anytime you do your part for the team, it's rewarding, and it was a special day for Montclair and myself.
Our motto was, if they don't score, we can't lose. And we pretty much held a lot of teams to very few points, so we felt good. And if I remember correctly, a linebacker named Jensen recovered the fumble that led to that touchdown.
You know, you're one step ahead of me, because the next play I was going to ask you is, you have a big fumble recovery. It gives you guys the ball right near the 50-yard line, and it leads to that touchdown. How great did it feel to make a big play that led to the scoring drive?
It felt great. But again, it had to do with everybody on the team, the guys in front of us. I mean, Pete Cataldi and I we were able to roam, you know, because the Dinsmore and Rothacker and I forgot. No, Tommy D'Onofrio. They really did a job up front. They really, and especially that game, because if I remember correctly, their back was leading the nation, or he was ridiculous amount of yards per game, and we crushed him. He didn't do nothing. You think he got 40 yards against us, something like that. So no, we're a cocky bunch, no question.
And of course, early on in the game, you guys score first. Earlier on in the game, I should say, you guys score first. As a defensive coach, you guys get the points on the board early. What's your mindset?
Well, they were ranked the #1 offensive team in the country. Their tailback was a freshman named Tracy Powers, and he was leading the country in rushing. We were leading the country in defense. So it was a matter of our defensive line, which was really a solid unit. But we had two linebackers, Pete Cataldi and Bobby Jensen, who were just outstanding. And people misunderstood Pete. Pete was short and stocky, but had an incredible nose for the football. And they tried to exploit him. In the first play of the game, they tried to run an isolation at him. And when they did, the guard came out at him, and he just went up over the guard and came down like a missile on top and just drove Tracy Powers right into the ground. And it was just an incredible play. Later on in the game, they set up for a field goal. And the head coach afterwards said, we knew that we could isolate our tailback on Pete Cataldi and beat him on a fake field goal. And if you were to time Pete in a 40-yard dash, you could use a calendar. But he had football smarts. He knew where to go and when to go. And when they tried their fake field goal, it was up the left side. Pete was step for step with their speed back. In his slow speed, he was right there with them, knocked it down, and that was the end of that attempt. That was pretty cool.
Now I want to take you back to another moment in the season, outside of the Knute Rockne Bowl, another chance to boast your defense here a little bit. You guys were playing Delaware State, one of the leading rushers in Division II, Steve Davis, and in that game, he only had 17 carries for 37 yards. Yep. So just another chance to talk about that defense.
Was 6'4", 225 pounds. And the next year, he was Franco Harris's backup for the Pittsburgh Steelers and played regularly in that Super Bowl and for the whole season. Tremendous back. The critical play in that game was they threw a little out pass right over here on our sideline, and the receiver broke the tackle and broke for the end zone. And our cornerback got up and caught him on the 8-yard line, tackled him there, and they had shots at the goal, and they had a 4th and 1. And Bob Jensen, who was our left inside linebacker, at 5'7", 175 pounds, they ran an isolation where they doubled down on Tommy D'Onofrio and blocked out on Butch Davis. And it was Bob Jensen and Steve Davis, 225 pounds of Super Bowl power and 175 pounds of Emerson High School in Union City. And Bobby stood him up on the line of scrimmage, turned him upside down, and stopped them. We stopped them and took the ball over on downs. And I used to give out these white skull and crossbone stickers for the helmets. Bobby got the best stick of the day for that one. And I love him because he played so much bigger, faster, and stronger. And I keep saying, Bob, you just didn't know that you weren't big enough to play college football. But that play was his whole season was incredible. That whole defense was just an incredible group of guys.
That was a hard-fought game up at Sprague Field, and don't forget now, he played for the Steelers for a while. He was drafted by the Steelers, and he was on their team for a while, but it was a hard-hitting game. And like you said, he carried the ball a ton of times, and we shut him down. But again, a challenge, just like the kid Taylor from Hampden Sydney, who was a very good ball carrier, and we basically shut him down. So our attitude, if you challenge us, we were going to come after you.
In our confidence the year before, because we went 8-2, but we did lose to Delaware State on the road. So coming to our place, playing under the lights, we played to a different level. Saturday night games, 8 o'clock, 5,000 fans. And I'm I'm saying we had a very, very good front seven, and they went after this kid Davis. That was the game plan, to stop him. I don't even know. I can't remember how much they threw in the game. I know our game plan was to stop him. Bobby Jensen, Peter Kindaldi, Mike Van Zyl, Tommy Rorthacker, D'Onofrio, Rosagnola. Our front seven guys they were the difference in the game.
The way we played, we were, like I said, we were very our defense, we were very confident that we could stop anybody. And one of the plays, I don't know if Matt got into this, every time I see him, he goes over this play. I don't remember as much as he does. Like you said, he's sharp. Third or fourth and 1 yard, and they were, or maybe fourth down, going for a touchdown or moving, and they came right at me. And the guy in front of me was huge. I was 5'7", 5'8", I lied, 5'8", 190 pounds. I fell to my knees, crawled under his legs, and that guy Steve ran right into me. And actually I was getting up and I stopped them dead. And it was like, whoa, that's pretty cool. And it was really that this guy was so big that I could crawl under his legs. But I don't think anybody knows that but me and you now, and all of these people.
So we were just talking to John Brunelli, and he was talking about you as somebody who brought a different aspect to this team. You had that Hudson County toughness. So how much do you buy into that? I know you'll probably, wipe it off a little bit, but how much do you feel like you impacted that team?
It's a good question. There's an article that it was written in a Montclaironian or whatever, Montclairian, and it described us, and it was, and I'm trying not to, but it described me as being the heart of the team. And I was, I'm not a shy guy, you know what I mean? So I was always talking to people and saying, but it was like almost fooling around, like, hey man, he's talking about your mother. Come on, seriously, what kind of stuff is that? But that's the kind of guy, that's the kind of thing. I hope I brought something like that. I always felt that I was an integral part of the team and part of like making it go, but there was a lot of us. It wasn't just me. There was a lot of people, and even the guys that didn't play, the Tommy Goodies, Michael Ario, guys like that, they supported us anyway. So, I mean, as far as I was concerned, it was all for one for all. No question about it.
So I want to talk a little bit about your relationship with head coach Clary Anderson.
Yeah.
What was he like, and what was your guys' relationship like?
And of course, he's a legend at Montclair High School. He won 223 games and lost 23, and had 19 state championships. He had a photographic memory, which was interesting, because we'd be in my office, which was downstairs in the gym, and they'd say, Don, in that third period, when they had the ball on the right hash mark on the 35, I said, Claire, I got to wait and see the film, because I don't think I even remember the third period, let alone ball on the right hash. His coaching philosophy was simplicity, and I think a lot of high school coaches would be smart to follow his philosophy, and that is he started out with just a very basic running and passing offense, very basic. And then as the season started, he would find things that different players could do, and he would put a play in for that particular player. So he was always building on the strength of what players could do. And that's, I think, one of the things that made him a special guy. He's a tremendous athlete himself. He was an All-American in both baseball and football at Colgate. And his senior team at Colgate was the famous untied, unscored upon, and undefeated Colgate and uninvited Colgate team. And they actually beat Ohio State at Ohio State, and Ohio State got the Rose Bowl invitation. That always rankled him. And he was drafted by the Detroit Lions in football and drafted by the New York Baseball Giants, but ended up going into teaching because there was more money in it for him. He saw a lot of what went on, and he could take something and immediately figure out, this is what I'm going to do, and make good, quick decisions. Very interesting guy. He was a great guy to work for.
My relationship with Clary goes back because I went to Clifton High School, and he was the head coach at Montclair High School, and we had played against Clifton. Montclair was a big rivalry back in the 60s, and so I knew him through high school. Coach Mackay came in as a hard-nosed Marine, and by the end of the season, we softened him up a little bit, and then, you know, he was good. I tell you, those four guys, it was Sully and Clary coached the offense, and Tom Testa and McKay coached the defense. And those were those were the guys that we had to put up with in practice. And, you know, they were very good to us. You know, they held our feet to the fire, but we had fun playing for them. And you wanted to play for them. You didn't want to let them down, which is, and that's a good team concept to have.
First 2 years at Montclair under Hank Ferris. He was an outstanding recruiter, Hank Ferris, and brought in some very good people. He lost his job after going 2-7 and 3-6. We bring in Clary Anderson, and back then there's no internet, no computer. We go to the library to look up Coach Anderson, like, who are we getting? We find out that he was the Montclair High School football coach. 209 and 23 was his record. 15 state titles. All on paper then. He didn't play the state game on the field. He was awarded 15 state titles. So we knew we were getting an outstanding person. When we first met Coach Anderson, we almost thought we got Spencer Tracy. He was, you don't know Spencer Tracy as an actor, an older man, wide brim hat. Clary wore the suits on the sideline. But Clary, if you learn one thing about Clary over the years was play the game, no excuses. You're going to make some mistakes. Own up to him, and you were okay with Clary. Clary was very basic. He was not going to lose a game. He knew he had a very good defense. We ran a very conservative offense, and that's the way he coached. We got Coach Mackay, young Marine, about 27 years old, and different era. We had long hair. It was, late 60s, early 70s, Vietnam War, so a lot of protesting on campus. And we got Coach Mackay, the old Marine, and it was interesting. Coach Sullivan, who just recently passed away, offensive, defensive line coach. And we had Coach Tom Tester, who was our defensive coach. 4 coaches. That's it. 4. And during the game, 2 were up top, 2 were up top, 2 on the field. Well, 1 up top, 3 on the field. That's it. 4 coaches. In practice, we didn't have enough coaches for defensive backs and linebackers to break up individually. You had to break up together. So
we started with Tom Testa. He was the freshman coach, and at that time we could not play varsity. And the thing was, we would beat the varsity every time they stopped us playing against them, because we would beat them. So Tom, Clary came in, the other guy got let go. Clary came in, Testa came up with us, Mac showed up, Tim Sullivan, who I assume, excuse me, you all know because he was part of Montclair for probably 50 years. It just was they were the right coaches for us. Like Clary, I mean, there was, it was 1968, 1969. There was people leaving the team to go to Washington, D.C. He would talk to us about these things, and no one ever, let's be realistic. We were like, we'd show up and the other school would have jackets, ties, and everybody the same. We'd show up with tie-dye. We'd walk off the cuckoo bus like we were crazy. But the day of the game, it just came together. And it was because of those 4 guys. I mean, they worked together well. Mackay was a Marine. And I don't know if he told you, one time Brunelli got hit and he had a cut or something, and he said, it hurts. And he goes, red's a color, red don't hurt. That's where Mac was at. Now he's one of the most lovable guys I know. He's been our friend for 50 years. He's been our friend as he started as our coach. And I never realized he's only 10 years older than us. Less to a couple of the guys, but 10 years older than us. And Mac was he was a glue. Clary was Clary. Anybody that that can tell you about Clary, he was just a unique, he would stand at I would love when the offense was on the stand next to him, because he would go like, there'd be a situation, 3rd and 12 on their 46 or something. And he'd go, Montclair versus Belleville. Joey Fatagui, same play. He'd call that play and it worked. He was just a magic man that way. He would do things that you would say, oh my God. He would tell us about Jim Thorpe, you know what I mean? On the sidelines during games. He would say stuff like that. So again, all I could say is everything clicked. It was just the right coaches, the right bunch of guys. And, you know, God bless. We love each other still to this day.
You know, more about the team. How about the players? How much did they impact you? Are there any that stick out? And what was your relationship with like them?
This was 1970. I am fresh out of the Marine Corps as a staff sergeant, who leading a rifle platoon, and we're in the middle of the Vietnam War, and a lot of these guys now, they're all long hair. I'm just the way I am now, although I had more on top. And they were, for the most part, they were against the war. So there were discussions that we had that were very interesting. And the spring game before that season was the Kent State shooting. And we sat in those bleachers over there, about 20 ball players and myself, talking about it. They were so upset about it, they didn't want to play the spring game. And we talked things out, and they ended up deciding to play the spring game, which was interesting. But it was, they liked it. If you talk to them, they'll tell you they broke me. And they took the 2x4 out of my butt and softened me up. And to a great degree, that's true. They were very feeling type of players, which was interesting because I had come, as I said, out of the Marine Corps, and I played at the University of Massachusetts. And we had a bowl team there, and it was just run differently. So this was and I think they changed me profoundly in my points of view, and like I said, they think they softened me up, and I think they did.
I'll tell you this, but he did admit you guys softened him up just a little bit.
Oh, we softened. He came in 69. I don't want to let the cat out of the bag here. He'll probably call me tonight, but he came in at 69, shaved head, you know, Marine and this, that, and the other thing. And by the time he left in 70, I know towards the end of the 70 season, 71, he had a mustache. He was wearing a floppy hat, you know. So we converted him to the 60s, you know.
He said that you guys were such a good group, it was almost like a family. So it's hard for you guys not to have softened them up a little.
Yeah. There's a ton of stories we could tell, but maybe another time.
Yeah.
But back then he was still Coach Mackay, and he was a hard ass, and he was a big guy. So back then we just appreciated his toughness and his military discipline. You know, I don't know if guys want to admit it because it was kind of a crazy bunch back then, but you win with discipline. And you look at our football team on the field, look at our offensive line. Their backs are flat as can be. We were well coached. So these coaches get a tremendous amount of credit for bringing this unit together. And as a senior, I was very happy because we had an outstanding junior class under us.
True, and we still are. I mean, when we get together, it's like we never left. The same guys say the same things. The pecking order winds up the same. We break each other's shoes just like we did back then. And it's just like I said before, it's a lot of love. I would hope that everyone talking to me here would get that feeling someday with some group of people. I mean, we were champions. Can't take it away from us. We were national champions, whatever you wanted to call it, because it was a little different back then. But we were champions, and we did it together. And I don't know. I still, and we still, all of us, have the same feelings. It's tremendous.
So you mentioned your experience as a Marine and a football player. How much do you think those experiences helped you as a coach and impacted your coaching style?
Well, my 8 years in the Marine Corps changed my life. That made me, I think, who I became, who I am, and I don't want to say it toughness, but that was a part of it. Discipline and the idea that there's nothing that's unachievable, that if you work hard enough that you can do the things. And that's the way these guys were. We were undersized everywhere. When we played Delaware State, which was really the linchpin game of the season that early, we had just beaten East Stroudsburg, and Delaware State came in. They averaged 245 pounds on the line. And I think Tommy Rothacker on our defensive line was the only guy that weighed in that range. Everybody else was under 200 pounds. So it was a matter of these guys just not going to give up. They play, and we ended up comeback win. I think we won at 17-14 on a comeback win. Glenn Morchauser caught a little pass out of the slot in that end zone. But that was a huge game. And like I said, the guys just would not acknowledge that they weren't as big or as fast or as strong, but they wouldn't take no for an answer.
So now being back on campus, I saw you before when you got here, step out onto the field and just take a look around. How much have things changed in the last 50 years?
Well, it's just, first of all, this field was a grass field, and it was absolutely immaculate. And I used to like to recruit Hudson County kids for they were just tough city kids. And I would bring them out here, and they'd come out and feel the grass, because they all played on dirt and grass, and no grass, just dirt and rough fields. They loved the grass. When we used to play Jersey City State, we would play them at Roosevelt Stadium, and they played a lot of high school games there. We would line everybody up before we got dressed, line everybody up on the end line, shoulder to shoulder, and march the field to pick up broken glass and pop tops and all kinds of junk that were on the field, so you wouldn't get fragmentation wounds. It was different. Off of Manhattan skyline, it was pretty cool. But changes, and when I was recruiting, I'd bring guys up on top of the campus to show them this the quarry, which was full of trucks and people grinding stone and steam shovels and all this business. And I'd say, this is where we're going to move. We own this. And later on, the guys would say, yeah, my kids finally got to see it, but not us. That was pretty cool.
Up to look for a venue to hold our reunion, they took us on a tour, and I couldn't get over how much they've built up that campus. It doesn't look like a Division III campus anymore. It looks like a major university. And it was really impressive to see the school when we went up there for the tour. So,
and Coach Mackay said he used to take you guys up to Stone Hall and show you guys the quarries and say, this will all be developed for you guys one day. And it didn't happen for you guys, but now looking years later, Look how it turned out.
Oh, it did. It's remarkable. All the athletic fields and the training facilities that they have there. They really did a great job building the school up. It really is a nice place to go.
University. We were the Montclair State College Indians back then. Now we're the Montclair State Montclair University Redhawks. It's amazing that back in the old quarry where we used to park our cars and do whatever, try to get off campus, it's Yogi Berra Stadium. We went on a tour with some of the alumni ladies that were very, very gracious and helpful to us trying to get this off the ground. Outstanding what the college looks like. It honestly is. I'm very proud to say I graduated from Montclair, and I passed it on to many students that I coached, and kids now, because I still help the Cliffside Park football team in a advisory capacity. As far as the football game, it's changed. It's a different game. It's shotgun. It's a different kind of offense, and I'm not sure I could play in this era. Believe it honestly, I wasn't all that fast. I did have the 9 picks, as you said, but I wasn't fit. Turf would have been an enemy for me. The grass was an equalizer, kind of, for me. And they throw too much today. I like the game where you buckle up, run the ball. And you know what? That's the game we were coached under, game I played. And Game is different today. It's fast on turf, and it's different. Montclair had a lot of foresight in the land they had and the property they had, and it's just look, it's a university now. We had in fact, way back then, I don't know if Coach Mackay told you, we had a high school on campus. I think it's called College High. It was on campus, a little bit up from the football field going toward the Union building. Well, it's all different buildings today. I couldn't even tell you what the buildings were, but yeah, it was on campus. Yeah, as I said, and I taught AutoCAD in high school, woodshop, architecture, design, and I've always appreciated Montclair's architecture. You know, Spanish type architecture, tile roofs, very impressive. And they kept a lot of that design in their expansion.
Well, the campus is huge. The quarry is now part of the campus. You know, it was a little smaller thing. I mean, I'm so happy it's a university. I'm smarter than I was when I graduated, you know what I mean? But the deal, football, I don't know, it's tackling and blocking. I don't know. I mean, I see all these things, and maybe I'm an old timer and I'm like, hey guys, just play the game. I mean, it's not that hard. You gotta tackle or beat the guy in front of you. You do it as clean and as fair as you can, and that's it. Could I play now? I don't know. Certainly I'm not big enough. I mean, we didn't work out. We didn't have after season programs. We didn't have weight room. We had a weight room. I don't know where it was, but we didn't have those things that now that they have to do. And like I said, it was the time of mankind where it worked. And you know, we're talking 68, 69. It was a different time of mankind, big time. It's a big school now. I mean, it wasn't, you know, I think when I first got there, it was a teacher's college, and then it became a college, and then it became a university. And that, you know, pretty proud of that. It's people actually know when I say Montclair University now, even out here, they know because of the D3 thing and all of that. So I don't know. I'm as anybody else. I was so disappointed we couldn't get back this year, and I hope that we can get back next year because I'd love to go to a game. I'd love to see the campus again. Probably go to Tierney's and hang out for a while, but you know, stuff like that.
So looking at the current state of football right now, of course, with the COVID-19 pandemic, everything has been thrown off. Could you imagine having a football season like this?
It certainly has been a challenge. I'm not sure. I mean, they're having difficulties with some of the programs because the athletes, being young kids, are out and trying to get out and about and do the things they do, and that's been causing some outbreaks. But this whole pandemic certainly is a whole different, just a different way of life. I was in Utah skiing. I have a season pass out in Alta, and I was skiing, and March 17th, all the mountains shut down, so I had to hop a plane and come back home, and everything just had changed. I'm a partner in a fitness center down on the Jersey Shore in Wall, and of course we've been shut down since March 17th. So it's been very difficult in a number of ways.
With all these restrictions that you have, and you don't know whether your game is going to be on or off. And I think part of playing is to have the fans, the enthusiasm. And I know right now, like a lot of schools are limiting the fans to 500, and you can't really do that. It takes away from the enthusiasm of the game. And I don't think the paper cutouts that they put in the stands, you know, it's the same.
Different. And
yeah.
If I had to ask, what is one piece of advice that you would give the players at Montclair State right now who are having to deal with these tough times?
I would say they have to listen to what Rick's telling them to do, make sure they do good in school, so when the season does come back, they're all eligible. But they have to listen to the coaches, you know, and Rick's a good coach. He's been there 100 years. I think he's second to Nick Saban in wins, overall wins as a high. He might be second or third, but he's up there in wins. So he's a very good coach. So I would say listen to him, and he'll get you through it.
I could not have imagined. Football was a big part of my life. And going into my senior year, I'll talk about Montclair University seniors now, the Red Hawks. It's got to be devastating. Just devastating. You know, You work hard, and many of us on this level are not going to the pro level. We play for the love of the game. So it's different than if you're in D1, Ohio State. Montclair guys, we're playing for the game. We love it. And to lose a season because of this COVID, it's kind of heartbreaking. All the work they put in, and the adversity I face is nothing compared to what they faced. And I can't say I faced a whole lot of adversity. Lost some games, yeah. Lost some games as a coach. But as far as adversity, I can't say I have. I had wonderful parents, wonderful upbringing, outstanding coaches all through my career. And I coached in a blue-collar community where the parents believed in their coaches. Stay the course. Hopefully the underclasses have an opportunity next year. Those that don't and have to move on, take your experience to the next level. If you have an opportunity to coach some young men and just try to tell them that, to believe in what you have at the moment, because it might not be there a year from now. Things change on a dime, and it changed for this class. So enjoy what you have when you have it, and do the best you can during those moments to be the best person you can and work with the people around you. Be considerate, be respectful.
The only adversity we may have faced is we had people that were for the war and people that were against the war. And luckily for us, that never encroached on our team. And there was definitely people that were for it, and definitely like Mack and Dinsmore, guys that were in the Army and stuff like that. But it never encroached on the team. So that was the whole thing. I mean, I think we took over the dean's office, which was really like he opened the door and let us in. It wasn't kind of like Columbia, you know what I mean? It was very nice. Hey, come on in, sit down, that kind of deal. So could anybody get through this? I don't know how you guys handle it. To me, it's a tough time. It's a different time of mankind. It's going to shape you all. I mean, me, I'm 70 years old. They can't do much to me anymore. But you're growing up in this. You're the perfect age. You're the next generation that's going to run this country. And, I hope the heck you do a better job than we did, because we're not doing so good right now. Game. If you don't love the game, get out of the game. Love the game. Play. Give it your best. That's all you can ask, is give it your best. And good things happen. That's about it.
Always think positive. When something faces you that you think you can't do it anyway. And that was kind of, that was probably epitomized by that Delaware State game, where they were big favorites coming in, and we had lost to them the year before down at their place. And you look at the size differential, and Davis, who everybody was raving about, a tremendous athlete that he was, and they would just wipe us off that, well, you don't have a chance. That Bobby Jensen at 175 pounds and Steve Davis at 225 pounds, that couldn't have happened. Bobby could not have stopped him the way he did, but he did. So it's mindset.
So my last question, just to wrap things up, going back to that 1970s team, is there one specific moment or memory that you think stands out among the rest?
Well, there are a lot of them. I mean, we had a number of injuries through the season where we lost key starters. Willie Tremor was a starting defensive end. We lost him to a shoulder. Glenn Hedden was a receiver. We lost him to a knee. Our starting defensive tackle, Rich Dinsmore, was in an automobile accident 4 days before the game and couldn't play. So adapting to these things. Tony Valpone, our captain, hurt a knee in the Southern Connecticut game, so he was playing at 75% strength in the bowl game. The stop that Bobby Jensen made, I think, was the critical stop in the whole season, because without that, we would have probably lost that game and maybe not have gotten the invitation. So, but every game had key points to it. It was just a great season. The only thing that irks me is the one loss we had to Central Connecticut, 17-14. It was a game that we should have won, and I play that over, and they were a wishbone triple option team, and they had a kid named Schermerhorn, who was their quarterback, was just he was tough to stop, and I wish we could have won that one. So it's a crazy thing to say. We win the national championship, and I'm grousing about losing, but they were a Division II team, as was Southern Connecticut, as was East Stroudsburg. So we were playing up in those early games. Beating East Stroudsburg out there, that was great, because the officials at those home games for them were always alumni. And the coaches, they'd be there arm in arm. Hey, how you doing, Ralph? Yeah, good to see you. And thinking, how the hell are we going to do this with their alumni? And it was tough to get a fair shake because they weren't ECAC officials. But every game there was something that happened that just really made it big.
Of course, the winning the NJAC, okay, to get to the point where we were able to get into the Knute Rockne Bowl, beating Glassboro. We destroyed him. We were like a buzzsaw going through there. And, winning the Knute Rockne Bowl had to be pretty good. And again, against Delaware State. And, so there are a number of things if you really sit down and think about it. But the best part of that whole season was playing with the guys that be going to practice every day. Nobody cared about going to practice. And whatever happened at practice happened at practice. And it was just a great experience. And I don't think it'll ever be duplicated. And I also think that what happened back when Clary took over, it was a change for the program up there. And I think we kicked the whole thing off to where it is today by, getting it going back in 69 and 70 and winning the national championship. So those are the things you remember the most. You see guys that I remember. I used to have student teachers that had played football at Montclair, and they would talk about, "Oh, you played on it." I said, "Yeah, I played on that team. Big deal." So, but it was fun. It was really fun.
Beating Bridgeport, I can tell you quickly. In my 3 years at Montclair, they beat us every year, and they went to the Rockne Bowl prior to us. So to me, beating them 21-0 at home on a Saturday night was probably as memorable as winning the Rockne Bowl, because we lose to them, we're not in the Rockne Bowl. That was the one thorn on our side. We did lose the game to Central Connecticut, but beating Bridgeport was extremely satisfying.
Well, I guess Delaware State, like you said, we went down there and it was kind of wild. It was, we'd get the ball out to the 20, we'd make it to the 30, and then they'd say, well, it's not a first down. So it was kind of crazy. And I think Delaware State, being an all-black school, or mostly, but I think it was all-black at that time, some of these people, that was the craziest thing they ever saw. It was shocking to some guys. And I think back then, they were affected. When they came here, I think it was get even time. I think to me, that was the game of the year. Hampden Sydney, by that time, we were way cocky enough, but I believe that game was, they had Steve Davis. He went and played for Pittsburgh. They were a really good team, and we wanted to get even, and we did.
Thank you for joining us here on Inside the Nest. I'm Jack Barteck from the 1970s Montclair State Redhawks, Knute Rockne winning football team. Thank you for joining us on this episode, and we'll see you next week.